everybody that's due to be here is here? Yep. Yep. So we'll start a few minutes early. So we'll call the meeting to order. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, can I have approval?
So moved. Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. So what we usually do is put the delegations and the presentations up first so that you don't have to sit here through a couple hours of exciting, simple stuff. So up tonight first, we have Big Tides Festival. Brian Dugall. Brian, you can come right up to this table.
All right. That's one of these.
If you have a hand up, that'd be perfect. So and that's the reason why we have you today, so you can tell us.
This is probably more detailed. All right.
Yep.
Thank you. A little more up to date.
Okay. Yeah.
I can just grab, if you don't have enough, I can just grab Tom's. If you've got enough, that's good. Thank you.
So you've asked us to use some of the public property, so
Yep.
I got out of curiosity, what would you need for public property? Are you looking for resources from the town? Things like that, or just bring us up to date on what your festival is really about, so.
Well, it's to raise awareness for both, mental health, physical health, and spiritual health. So right now we have a big pandemic of mental health going on, and people have no resorts to go to get the help. So we're just trying to put something in place to help them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So you're looking to use the parks and the green spaces?
As much as possible, yeah, to get people outside, get them active. Put on some walks, like walks through town, walks down and around Tideview, stuff like that, right? So just to raise awareness for like different disorders and stuff. So, yeah.
Are you looking at anything for the town other than public property? I don't know, you may have had that conversation with Tom. I haven't been around the last few weeks, so.
Well, that's about it for right now.
Yeah.
Just to have like some kind of a, hey, yeah, go ahead, just try it out. Like we plan on having different vendors from every different part of the three categories come in. Even mental health in Nova Scotia come in, stuff like that. So pass out pamphlets and stuff like that just to educate people that they're not alone, right? So different health products that people don't know actually people make in here, in town, and in the surrounding areas, right? So it should be something like we actually plan on having different demonstrations from like say karate, boxing, tai chi, stuff like that. To get people out, get people active, and the fact that anybody can do it, right? Even different stages of yoga, like chair yoga, for yourself, bed yoga, stuff like that.
Well, that's where I've been before.
Well, you can actually be in bed and still work out, and eventually get out of bed, right?
Yeah.
You can get rid of the pain by doing bed yoga. So.
I do that every morning. Yeah. Just
Not put on Sports Center. Come on now.
Yeah, it was funny. That's really all we wanted to know. You sent us a letter. We weren't really sure what we were looking for, but it's a unique idea.
Oh yeah, it's definitely growing too. Since we actually put the Facebook page on, we've got notified by people that have actually moved to the area and are specialized in different mental health fields, who have actually come here to restart their life and don't know how, so they actually want to be a part of this. So they're from all over Canada coming in.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they all moved here, right? So.
Toronto, Vancouver. What days was it? Were they?
One's in Montreal. No.
What were the dates of the festival? I did see it.
21st to the 26th. And most of it's like motivational speakers. Come in. There's a few performers like say Kevin Davison, the firefighter from Kentville, EMT. He suffers from PTSD, so he's never been asked to do anything in Canada. Always in Europe and the United States, never in Canada. So he's like, what? Who's making that aware now, right? Like here. So he's all excited for it. So there's quite a few. We even have Leah Parsons, who wants to come down for it. So. Yeah. Her organization too, just to raise awareness for online bullying, stuff like that. So that it does happen, and there's ways to cope with it and ways to get rid of it. So
There's social media.
yeah, pretty much put the phone down, leave it in the woods, and yeah.
Does anybody got any questions?
The only thing that I saw, Brian, was the farmer's market had started on Fridays and Sundays.
Oh yeah, we can work around them. Even the concert series too. Like we could put on like say boxing during the concert series because not people that want to go boxing are going to want boxing. So yeah, well, it's too easy to work around whatever's in place right now. So
Inclement weather going to bother you, or are you going to use the bandstands and things?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
with tents, stuff like that. Every vendor will have to bring their own tent type thing, but being out in the rain is actually ideal. A lot of negative ions coming down up from the earth for the rain back down, and it actually recharges you. So that's part of the wellness journey. So
I just got 2 new knees. I don't want any charges going there.
we won't have a dunk tank then. So
Yeah, well, I could do that. I won't float anymore.
yeah. Now there is something new on the back page. It was actually an idea. It's the last little paragraph down there.
Yeah, well, it's something that, the building?
Yeah.
Something that we bring in, the committee, the whole form a committee, so that we have that building there, to do something with.
Okay.
The area around it, well, the area around it is chiefly the Pines Hotel.
Yeah.
The parking lot and a little bit to the south is town.
Yeah.
Behind that is all Pines Hotel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So probably have to talk to them then.
Huh?
Probably have to talk to them then.
Oh, using their property to the
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
But as far as use of the building, we renovated it last fall, and it's time that we do something with it.
Yeah.
The position council always has taken is something that we don't want to subsidize. Either we use it to promote the area, or we use it to make money.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't.
You could always promote it for mental health,
Well, yeah,
Right,
it's
so-
an idea, yeah.
yeah, definitely.
That's the first approach we have.
especially with like a community garden program, right? So gets people out and active and stuff like that.
Mhm.
A lot of people use that right now just to go park and walk. So
They do, yeah, they do.
it's showing that people want to get out and get fit and have a place, but yeah, put more use to it or something.
It's a nice building now, so they did a good job.
I looked in, yeah.
Any other comments or questions for Brian, or Tom?
So, council is agreeable, we need a motion to issue a special events license for this event. And, as per our vending licensing bylaw. And also, I think you wanted to add the fee waive as well.
Oh, sure. Great suggestion.
Wait. Generally, I think we've done that quite often for first festivals, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for lots of resources and people on weekends and things like that, those are costs, and we try to recover some of those. But,
Yeah.
and the permit is just so that we know what's going on.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
We could do that right now, if we want to put a motion for it, so that way Brian can sneak out knowing he's got permission, so. If someone wants to put a
I
motion.
make that motion, give the permit to the Big Tie Health and Wellness Festival and waive the fees for this year.
Second.
Any other discussion or comments or thoughts on it?
Just, Brian, you have 16 days till you start.
Yeah.
And you have vendors, I say you have vendors coming, you have an idea where they're going, the hour, and the same sort of things. they do
Oh.
at festivals.
Well, we got a rough idea, yeah. Lining everybody up and giving them notice until we got approval. We pulled off scallop days last year within 3 weeks. And I was behind most of that because I had the time for it. So, and that was turned out pretty good.
And when you're sort of asking for the green spaces, is that including the tourist bureau this year?
Nope. Just like the use of the park, use of the marina grass stage, and Admiral's Walk, pretty much.
So we wouldn't have to block off any traffic.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. We want people to have access to have wheelchair accessible, so they don't have to go through pylons and stuff like that, so they're right there, so they can actually sit in the parking lot if they want.
Well, it's a unique idea. It's probably, this last 2.5 years has certainly been very stressful.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not over with yet, so
Yep.
it's unfortunate.
It's just gonna get bigger and bigger, so. Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor of that motion, say aye. Any nays? Motion carried. Well, there you go. Didn't want to take much of your time, but we just wanted a little bit of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Perfect. See, next year we plan on bringing in a special guest speaker for you, but you've already talked to him.
Who is that?
Harry Price.
Carrie, oh yeah, he'll be here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's gone through his issues, so.
with the guy, he'll be here.
Some kind of cup. There are coffee cups everywhere.
Okay. I'll be here. Thank you, Ron. We'll look forward to it. Hopefully I can be down around or some of
I'll
the.
get a wheelchair, bring it down.
Well, I'm walking now, so,
Take it easy.
yeah.
Stay off your feet. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, you got it. Next tonight is Nancy Robinson, Affordable Housing. You both come up. You can probably grab one of these chairs here. Yep. We get you in the inner sanctum. We get you circled here.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
I didn't say hello to Paul there. When I came in, sorry. And I'm pleased to meet all of you, finally. Thank you for having us. So we have 2 items. First, I would like to introduce Michelle Levings. You probably already know her, but you don't know that she's our community engagement coordinator. So this is her 3rd week. So thought we'd take the chance to and the second one is to talk about our attempts to purchase a motel. As you probably know, that it's in the process. I was hoping that tonight we would have the good news that we have it. We'll explain that later. So first is to introduce Michelle Levings, community engagement coordinator. Can everybody hear me okay? And
Yep.
even you people? I know it's hard back there, but you're okay. Good. And we have our our supporter here. So community engagement coordinator and tenant advocate. And she'll just say a few words about what she sees as her work, and then we'll talk about future collaboration.
Well, I'm looking forward to connecting with tenants and with landlords. Part of the vision for my job was to do like information sessions, learning sessions, whether it be on hoarding or whether it be on tenant rights, how to be a good tenant, and also, when I learned about the motel, I was really excited because one of the things that I envisioned is I do really have an interest in co-ops. So I'm excited for, I think the more the community is involved in their own living space, the better they take care of it. So, yeah.
You mentioned the co-op. You've looked at Bert's, the one in Conway, that co-op process. Or that's right under the Yarmouth. Yeah. I'm just going to make some inquiries on how that one works. But.
We're looking into it.
Right?
We're looking into it,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, because you have to be successful.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You also mentioned good tenants. You should have good landlords too.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. A lot of our time here is taken up because of not so good landlords.
Right.
Right. Yes, Paul had mentioned that when we had our first meetings. We started last July 15th as a coalition. Our aim was to get something done. And with Paul, we had discussed the town council being involved in helping to set up something for landlords and tenants. So we're looking forward to that, yes. Yeah. And
I think there recently was a session where the tenancy board attended to bring people up to speed on their rights and responsibilities. I'm not sure where that was.
look at, okay.
Queens, yeah, and it would be a good idea here because I don't know what the split is between homeowners and landlords or tenants, but more tenants now than homeowners. So I would think.
Right? Yeah.
There are a lot of tenants, yes. Mm-hmm. And fewer now because a lot of the buildings have gotten bought, I think. Right.
There is, and I just looked at my email, there's an email that just come up from the province regarding information sessions on public housing. It was, like, if council hasn't got it, I just got it, I'll send it to them, they want input from councils and staff. And I'm assuming that email is going out to special interest groups and things, so I'll look into it and see.
Public health, you say?
No, public housing.
Oh, the housing,
It's
yes.
by the province, yeah.
That's
That just came
the,
out this afternoon.
the needs survey? The needs
Yes,
study?
need survey again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Province put out an email last week about their projects of provincially owned lands, but there's nothing you can hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that provincial, when we talked to the minister about identifying areas, and we don't have any, were we talking to them about purchasing, like they did in Dartmouth, that hotel? So is there any monies from the government to help purchase your building that you're looking at? Because he did mention that if there's nothing there, then, right, he didn't know if there's anything in Digby that the province owned, and obviously there isn't any. So is there any compensation that we can get for this project?
We can reach out to the minister, we can write the minister a letter, because I've asked for a meeting with him, and I haven't got it in the last 6 weeks. So.
But that might be one thing you may want to look into, that, you know, since there wasn't any identified here, then how are we gonna be compensated in this region?
Okay, right. Because of the land being, because there was no
Because,
land
well,
available?
Well,
Yeah.
it's buildings and stuff that they
Right.
were doing
Right.
an inventory on to see what
Right.
they could really give away to the areas, right? So,
I read the article and it said they would offer it at a lower price to nonprofits.
yeah,
They never said free.
no.
Halifax is identified, they need 537 units, I think, immediately to deal with homelessness and things like that.
Well, in Digby, we had excellent surveys done by Dash. That was valid up till about 2018 anyway. And now they're doing a new survey. I don't know if they're asking municipalities and perhaps towns what you need, but I don't know. How do you know what you need without doing a survey? So, so I sent them Dash. I told I talked to somebody in the in the Premier's office, Jennifer McIntyre, and she's working with Turner and
Turner and Drake,
okay,
probably.
the ones who are doing the survey, the needs study. And so I sent her the link to all the Dash reports because I said those are as good as any because they're very well done. It gives you a base anyway. And things have just gotten worse. So hopefully because of, you know, I don't know how they're going to go ahead with just calling municipalities and asking them for information.
We really don't know either. Like, other than we get calls, I get calls a lot saying, do you know where I can find a place to live? But I'm getting those calls from people that are low income, but I'm getting those calls from people that are professionals.
Exactly, everybody. Yes.
Yeah, everybody. It's the whole gamut. Now, of course, some of it's going to get addressed over the next year or two with some of the high-rent housing or apartments, but it doesn't deal with the low income.
So that was our second thing, is that we hope to have reported that we have the financing to buy the motel, but we don't yet. We have asked the CBDC, and they are going to, I think, consider it. They've considered it at their council meeting and have agreed in principle. However, they need some proof that we are viable and going to make it.
So is that Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation?
No, it's the community
Oh, okay, community grants.
Community-
Growth opportunities, yes.
Business
Yeah.
Development Corporation. Our friends. They've been very friendly and helpful, really very.
Did they help design a business plan for you? They will, as part of that whole loan process.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we already had one, I would say. But yes, it could use some shaping up, and that would be appreciated. You know, some shoring up, but basically it's there.
Yeah.
Yes, to run it as a motel in the summer because it's already booked, and we can make some actual money to have some funds to do some of the upgrading that it needs. It doesn't need that much to be usable. It's in quite good condition. And then we are in touch, to answer your question, with both the CMHC, federal, and the provincial government, Housing Nova Scotia, and the Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing. We have some good friends in both. They've both written letters. They've both talked to Rose Madden. They are just telling them that once we have owned it, we are eligible for all kinds of funding, which we would have, of course, have to apply for, but we would be, they're just love retrofitting motels, as it shows from the Terra Inn, for example, in New Glasgow. That has just been opened by the Premier. It's called Cody's Place now. So they, I'm not really worried about that. However, we have to convince some business, hard-nosed business people in the CBDC. So anyway, we had intended to come here to ask for a favor, of course, but I don't like asking for a reduction in taxes. I think Digby needs its taxes. However, I think I have to listen to my board and to all their advice and say we would appreciate a tax forgiveness, a tax holiday perhaps, because it is zoned commercial, maybe 50% for the first year, something like that. And I can't ask you now because we don't have it yet. However, that's something that we wanted to.
And that's not something that we can just automatically do. No, we can't look at you and say we're going to cut yours by 50% to somebody else. It's done by a process. Then we can only do a certain amount. But put your request in writing. When you get that.
I just wanted to give you a heads up. And we had wanted to come and see you since January, but I would like, once we have the motel, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be soon, that we would come to the committee of the whole and perhaps then work out some kind of functioning relationship in overall, since we're working together.
You mentioned renting the motel as a motel during the summertime. But would you retain some rooms for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. For a transitional house, if people really need it, yes.
Yeah.
There are people there already
Yeah.
in that capacity.
Well, I know
Yeah.
Bob has been
Yeah.
very good for some. Yeah, has done a lot for
Yes.
some.
So we're working. We will. Yes.
If I could speak to that for a moment, the initial plan outlined to me in the discussion was to convert to a different type of accommodation. But we already have, for instance, the Wharf Rat Rally already booked, right? And since it's going to be difficult for renovations to take place quickly, it made more sense, and I suggested to the group that they continue it as a motel while they make their plans and at least get past the Wharf Rat Rally weekend, right? I don't believe, in our discussions, I've certainly not come to believe that it's an intention to run as a motel every summer.
No.
It's only this summer.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
It's just in the conversion process.
Yeah.
If we knew, like right now, I'm still taking reservations, period. Right? This afternoon, we booked another group for 2 rooms for the rest of the summer, a work group. That revenue is going to go to this group. Okay? But I can't book reservations after they do, or reservations after they do their renovations. But as long as people are planning to come to Digby and I'm getting reservations, I don't want to turn around in 3 weeks and say, I sold the motel.
Yeah.
And then have the motel sit there idle because the plans aren't ready to renovate.
Oh, yeah.
That's what that process is. Just a conversion period. Get past Wharf Rat Rally, or maybe a little later in the fall, whatever makes sense as they go forward with their plans.
Well, it's good to hear that you booked for the rallies. I know a lot of places are starting to fill up, so.
Just a question, what is your concept? Like, are people staying there for a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year? Is it permanent? Is it families? Like, what's your intentions, I guess, or ideas?
Yes. Well, it's I've said transitional housing, which means it could be anywhere from a month to a year. The people who need, but affordable for people on low income, or from the waiting list of the subsidized housing, or huge waiting lists, or huge waiting lists on the co-op. People who need affordable housing, and there will be transitional until they look for something else. That's just for us as getting a transition until we really find our way. So we'll leave that open. But yes, there are 2 housekeeping units. Could easily have a couple and maybe a family, looking to have the owner suite held by somebody, a family that needs low-income housing, but could also serve perhaps as a superintendent or something. So those are all things in the, but we're also looking at the co-op model, because there are lovely gardens, and we'd like to develop the gardens and have people participate. So we are seriously looking at the co-op model, but that will take a little. So I think the transitional housing idea will kind of give us a bit of a base until we develop it more. With your input too.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a certain,
Sorry.
did you say? No.
I know, I just am talking this way, you can hear, okay.
Yeah, I read an article recently, there will always be a certain element of the population that will be homeless, unfortunately. But they almost choose that lifestyle. And you listen to some in Halifax that live in tent city, they went to hotels, they moved back to the tents. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but that just seems to be what they like.
But there is a lot more than that around.
Oh, yes.
We have a new employee at the CIBC who came to us looking for exactly that type of housing, so he could start his job here, and he's not the first one this year.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, in one morning, before 12 o'clock, I had 3 phone calls, all looking for the same sort of thing. One family was burned out, somebody else was coming to town, somebody else had to start work.
Yep, you got a nurse practitioner that left because she couldn't find housing there.
Yep.
So I get those calls weekly, and we have,
It's there.
it's there.
Sir, Nancy, it's nice to put a face to your name.
Hello.
Nancy, I know the need is so great, it almost seems overwhelming that, you have to try and figure out who's the greatest need, I guess, right off the top. But then you said, and I've heard this from many government people too, and then you have a property, it becomes much easier. Does that give you a stepping stone then to acquire another property, to build another building, does it make that process easier too?
Yes. We're looking at that already.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't got our first step, we're looking at the second. Yes, definitely.
I think from here, right now, one of the things, we need to get to the minister, I've been wanting to have a meeting with the minister on another issue that we faced over the last few months.
Mr. Lord?
Yes.
Yes.
And, so I think council agrees, we'll write the minister and say we'd like to have a meeting, whether it's one-on-one or staff or all of us here. And we'll put public housing on the agenda.
Yes, well, if you need some input from us, we're here.
Yeah.
There is now a collaboration between the CMHC, or the federal government, and Nova Scotia. It's called the Nova Scotia Building Growth Fund or something like that. And we're waiting for those programs.
Yeah.
Okay, to come in probably in the fall. So, and we are preparing a proposal for those as well. For seed funding. Pardon?
We had the minister here on Zoom meeting. He said we're looking at 2 or 3 years away before we can address housing. And that's what he said here. So we need to get our Digby higher on that list than 2 or 3 years away. So.
Yes, definitely. Great.
Yeah. Because they look at Dartmouth and Halifax.
I know.
Yeah, the numbers are bigger there, but they also make more noise. So.
And I think it's a good idea. You have all these phone calls. I think I'm trying to get people to document them, because that's really the only information we have right now. It's funny how many people are calling in. They're invisible. People, we don't know about them except for the certain people that get those phone calls.
Yeah. I get it all the time. All the time. And they're everybody, professionals down to those with low incomes. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, so we'll do that. We'll reach out to the minister and see if we get a response. 6 weeks ago I asked to talk to him, and I still haven't heard from him. So, and those people like to know exactly what they're coming into. So we'll say it's public housing and or affordable housing, whatever word they want us to use today. And I want to.
Social housing, they kind of is an umbrella term, yeah.
Social housing,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So we'll do that. Yep.
Sorry. I just wonder if there's communication with social services, because a lot of people beyond social services probably that come to you. The issue we've had in the past is the monthly rate that they're given.
Right.
It's like about $500 a month or whatever. And there's been a lot of landlords wanting more,
Yes,
obviously because they trash the places, and
yeah.
I've got some great pictures of one this weekend if you wanna see them. But, you know, things that
Mhm.
you should probably communicate with them. I don't know if there's funding through that or not for you, but, if you're gonna get some clients from social services, you should make sure the rate that you're getting should be a lot higher, and to work with the landlords to to get that together, because they're
Yes.
really having an issue with that.
Yes, we will have definitely, we are in touch with him,
Mhm.
yes. Nancy Baroni left, so I'm waiting to contact a new
Yeah.
ED there, but,
Because some landlords
Yes.
include power and things, and you have enough money to pay for the power for them,
Yes.
so
yes,
it's a big issue.
it is.
Sort of grow. Sort of grow. Yeah. Okay, no other questions? Good luck, Michelle.
Thanks.
I saw the thing online yesterday, some session coming up, I forget, I looked at it, or maybe it was the announcement for you.
It might have been. We also have a GoFundMe in place right now as
Yeah,
well.
that's what it was. It's on
Yeah.
GoFundMe. That was this morning, I saw that.
Yeah, it just started yesterday, I
Yeah.
think it
Yes,
went
we have a
live.
GoFundMe campaign, so
Yeah.
send it out to everybody.
Yes.
Share.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll reach out to the minister when we know when we're meeting with him, we'll go from there.
I can send you some stuff to ask them,
Yeah,
or to tell them, whatever.
yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
You probably need the chairs, right?
You know, if you want chair, Keith, you can stay back there. Yep.
Could I interrupt your agenda for just a moment? I see you had other items at the top, and I missed that. And I don't expect any discussion or any real comment, but I would like to put on your next month's agenda, somewhere along the line, the Irving building next door to me.
That's on our agenda.
Is
Frequently.
exposed at that front door. I'm getting concerned
Yeah.
that that's not being dealt with, so.
It's being dealt with, but you're dealing with Irving Law, so we're in the
I know.
middle of it, yeah. Yeah, hopefully we'll have something at some point on that building, so.
Yeah, I've heard rumors.
Yeah.
It's about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you much, Lee.
Yeah. Okay, no, you guys can come right up front. You too, Keith.
I wouldn't even let him touch the mouse.
That's how they treat my dog.
That's something. That's what you get for being great for so long.
You walked in the door and said something smart to me right off the bat, so.
Oh, I didn't.
You were in 30 seconds.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank you, Mayor Cleveland, and members of council for the opportunity to present tonight. My name is Corey Robar. I'm the Trails Coordinator for the ATV Association Nova Scotia at Vans, and of course you know Keith. Keith's president of the Digby County ATV Club for 6 or 7 years now, something like that. So, and we're here to talk about ATV and UTV access through the town of Digby, mainly trail connectivity and access to services. The in case you don't know, UTV is basically side by side. So sometimes it's
wheel.
Oh no, I can press the button. It'll work. Yep. So first off, just wanted to provide you with some economic numbers and facts and stuff. And I believe council should have received a copy of the study there that we had completed. It was kind of eye-opening when we did the study back in 2015. It was done by the Vans, the Snowmobile Association of Nova Scotia, and the Nova Scotia Off-Road Riders, which is the off-road motorcycle group, right? So it was a direct spending report. So it was actually, this is dollars being spent on the ground and in the communities and stuff. And we're looking to update the survey this year. It's planned for Vans, and they've voted on to that we considered the 2015 one a baseline. So this will give us something to update and stuff. And when we went through it, we pulled out the ATV portion of it, and when you look, the outings portion of it is for 42.1 million, which is like food, fuel, all the things that riders spend on when they're out enjoying the day or going somewhere for a weekend trip and that kind of stuff, right?
Numbers are actually quite amazing.
Yeah, it's it is when you start getting into it type of thing, right? So,
Just interrupt you.
yeah, sure, anytime.
That overall $189.4 million, is that spending in Canada, in
Nova Scotia,
just Nova Scotia?
in just Nova Scotia, from the industry. Like that included machines and trailers and everything associated with OHVs type of thing. So, you know, and yeah, we've got a lot of accolades about it type of thing because you really didn't know until you actually got into the numbers, right? And it was they weren't really projections. We've seen some reports in the past where they kind of use a multiplier type of thing, but in this fact, it was actually dollars spent type of thing, right? So, currently in the province, we have 7 highway travel pilot sites, and I don't know if council is familiar with that, but we have 7 sites around the province where travel on the highway is legally permitted under the OHV Act and under the Motor Vehicle Act, because it's really complicated in regards to the provincial government, but the 2 ministers are responsible for it type of thing, for these designated, they call them designated trails on highways. And we presented to TIR back then about it, and it took us a few years, but they finally moved forward with it. The closest one is in Weymouth, and there's rules in place, you know, hours of use, speed limits, what riders have to do, and all that kind of stuff. Now, we've been getting some feedback from Weymouth, in particular from some of the enforcement folks, and it seemed to have calmed down what was happening in Weymouth, because number one, enforcement was there more because it was a legal travel site type of thing, right? So they seem to be there, and the RCMP can enforce it, actually, is because it's under Motor Vehicle Act. It actually seemed to calm things down more in Weymouth, and, you know, enforcement is one part, but I think it also was the peer pressure part, because riders were saying to other riders, don't screw this up because you're going to ruin it for me, type of thing, right? You know, whereas before it was get through Weymouth as fast as you can so you didn't get caught, right? And it's actually seemed to be weeding out the bad apples. And I'll go to the, you know, riders when they're doing things, you know, when they're some highway travel and they want to get point A to point B as fast as what they can. That is what we presented to government when we got the pilot sites was, you know, that's causing an issue because, you know, they're speeding to get through, but if we can manage it, right, we can make it safer. There's signage for people on the highways to know that you might expect an ATV on it. And it's kind of a sad story. It is a sad story. My cousin was actually on the back of an ATV with a young fella in New Germany. We just recently put a bridge in New Germany across the LaHave River. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but it was 220 feet. But people used to use the highway bridge, and it was on a Saturday, and they went across the bridge, and they didn't want to get caught. And the young fella gunned the throttle. The machine just went straight and went into the bridge and killed the one young fella that was on the machine, type of thing. And my cousin was on the back with him, right? And, you know, we got thinking about if he could have legally been able to do that, would that have happened, type of thing, right? If he would have known he could just putter down the side of the road and be legal. So, that's part of it, and that's one of the things we presented to government. And we know that it's happening around the province, in rural Nova Scotia, right? It happens everywhere. We get it, it's illegal, but people are doing it. So, we present highway travel as an option. So right now, as you know, riders can get into both sides of the town. The east side has the accommodations, and the west side has the eating establishments and stuff, right? So, but there's that little gap in the middle, approximately 790 meters. I GPSed it out there on basically First Avenue where the old train tracks used to be. Shore Council's using it. And we know that some riders are now illegally using First Avenue to make the connection through town, right? But it's illegal, so there's no way to manage it, type of thing. And we found that managing the use has been more effective than trying to enforce the unmanaged use, because, you know, if you tell somebody they can do something legally, they'll 9 times out of 10 obey the law type of thing, right? But if you tell them they can't, and you know they're going to do it, and then they're just breaking the law, and it's, like I say, they're speeding too, so they don't get caught. So we look at it, you know, more than just access through the town will help with the economic impacts. I mean, all the businesses along Water Street and stuff. And, you know, I was, 2007, I went to a conference in West Virginia, and it was about the Hatfield-McCoy Trail System and the economic impact that it had on the rural communities in southern West Virginia. It didn't happen overnight, but it was a vision of 2 gentlemen who didn't want to create a place for ATV riders and off-highway vehicle riders to ride. The vision was to bring the economy of these towns, small coal mining communities, back to life by offering a product or a service that people, you know, would embrace. So in 2007, I believe the trail system had only been open like for 3 years or something like that. You had towns with a population of 650 people getting 28,000 visitors a year from ATVs down there riding the trail system. Now, when the 2 gentlemen first presented their idea, they got buy-in from some towns. And the areas that they were dealing with was mainly coal mining and logging owned the land around. But it was basically over the mountain and into a town. And, you know, that's how they advertised it. And, you know, there was a business there that had the motel. One young fellow was pretty smart. He bought 3 businesses in town. He bought the local garage, he bought the ambulance service, and he bought the local motel. And the motel had an occupancy rate of about 60% at high times during the week, and basically nothing during weekends, and all that was workers into the town. After the trail system opened, he doubled the size of his motel, and it had a 99% occupancy rate 7 days a week. So it was a big boost for the economy. They rented ATVs, $200 a day. We rented an ATV because it was cheaper than hauling one down, and I never forget it. We went in and rented the ATV, and I said, well, how do we get to the trail? You know, I got no trailer with me. I mean, oh, yeah, I'll just drive right down the main road. You'll see it on the left-hand side. And it was that complete. I drove through the drive-thru at McDonald's, got my supper, and went back to the motel, right? But it was accepted. And, you know, it was a 30 mile an hour, 50 kilometer an hour speed limit, but they're a mile per hour, 30 mile an hour speed limit in town. But everybody obeyed the rules because they could use it, right? You know, they knew that it was there. They had the legal opportunity to use it. So, so like I said, the town of Digby, you know, you got access to services such as food, fuel, lodging, along with other attractions, which is what riders are looking for. And the next point, you know, ATV riders and OHV riders are very patronizing. They support those who support them, and I'm not, you know, trying to put a threat out there or anything like that, but they are, right? You know, like our clubs have rally, and if a business supports a rally, you'll see the riders patronizing them type of thing, right? So, you know, a community that supports ATV use and stuff, when they do, the ATV riders support the community because they can get in there and they can access the services and stuff, and they appreciate that. And not only the access to services, the access through the town also allows the riders to continue the journey on through type of thing, right? So, you know, you get a lot of riders that'll go from Yarmouth and come up, and they're looking for a place to stay and that kind of stuff, and then continue back down.
A year and a half or 2 years ago, I used to be next door helping them. Several times I was there, 20, 25 bikes would come in this way,
Yep.
down the shore.
Mm-hmm.
The first time they did it, they all come in and rode up, they all parked up in here, and I watched them. They come in, they had their dinner, and then they said, now, Mr. Mayor, you have to go back for a minute. And I knew what they were doing. They
Yep.
come in, then they went down this way.
Yeah.
The all lined up, but they were responsible people.
Yep, and respectful, right? And, you know, that, to me, that's where the peer pressure thing comes in, because if one person and that one person
Yeah.
is an idiot in the group's gonna say something to them, right? You know?
These were all older
Yep.
folks.
Oh, yeah.
40, 50 and up, yeah.
Since COVID, what the ATV and OHV sales in the province just took off because people were taking their money and couldn't go out of the province, couldn't go down south, so they bought ATVs, right? And we've seen a big boom in it. Our membership in the association has been growing, type of thing. So basically, the ask, what we're looking for is council support as a partner. We would like to partner in seeking access through the town of Digby along with access and services. And I put the last bullet in there, can a bylaw be created to allow for legal access, or is there another method, right? Because I'm a trails coordinator, I'm not a lawyer, and so we put that in there, and it's basically looking for a partner in the town to work together to see if there's a way that we can resolve this issue, right? And we've had a couple of ideas, but, you know, those are only ideas that we've thought of, type of thing, right? So.
Yeah, there are our streets, but they are enforced under the Motor Vehicle Act. and things like that. Tom can comment on all that.
That's the end of it, so.
No, we can't create a bylaw because, well, we create a bylaw, we want to, but whether we
Yeah.
get, there's no authority under the Motor Vehicle Act for us to be able to control traffic on our streets.
Okay, yep. Mm-hmm.
And, so I have been keeping in touch with Jeff Gushu from town of Yarmouth.
Okay.
They're trying to do the same thing down there now.
Mm-hmm.
He said until there's a change in legislation, and I hear that there's a possibility that they may change to allow municipalities to be able to.
The Highway Traffic Safety Act, from my understanding, and like I say, I'm no lawyer, but just reading it, there seems to be, I think there was something in there that would allow towns or municipalities to possibly create bylaws. Now, how encompassing that is in regards to what, right? You know, I'm not sure, right? You know,
Well, who just said that to us?
the Highway Traffic Safety Act.
Yeah, well,
Or,
yeah,
yep, okay.
absolutely, yeah. I've never had an issue with it. I always said ATV, put high pressure tires on, go highway kids, and then go on the road. Stay off the one-on-ones.
Oh,
Put them on the ones in the streets, because they do in some countries overseas.
oh yeah, the new ones come with signal lights and horns and everything.
And I said, I've said, in the past, we see a 16-year-old go by on a four-wheeler, and we growl at him, and we put a 16-year-old kid on a CB600 racing motorcycle from Honda and say, have fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me, like, I know there's a lot of bad drivers. I told Keith here 2 months ago, I was driving in here while our Digby Station, and there were 2 kids in there doing burnouts with ATVs. And I usually would call Bruce, I drove right in and cut them off. I said, if you wanna continue using this trail, you gotta stop, and they looked at me and took off. They probably weren't even 16, but they were surprised that this old guy lived over to them.
With the ATV club, with me and the ATV club, which we have a good working relationship with DNR, the conservation officers. When I see something like that going, snap a picture, send it off, and I get a lot of feedback from them.
I had a call about a month and a half ago from somebody who lives on the bottom of King Street. Couldn't understand why 10 ATVs drove by. And I said, were they racing? Were they raising the devil? No, but they just drove by. Why? I said, they've been allowed for a number of years, and this person's lived there for 15 years anyway. And had a chat. They understood. I said, they're allowed to come into the Digby Station and park there. Yeah. But other than that, it's just seeing that young kid racing up down the street, you know.
Yeah.
But you're never going to stop.
I mean, there were 2, yesterday going up Maiden Lane by the Fisher Memorial Park. And they weren't speeding, but they were two young guys, and you see it, you're never gonna stop it, but I mean, it's,
Yeah.
but I thought this, pilot project that they did, Weymouth and other places, was only for a certain length of time, and they should have all the feedback by now.
They're slow.
Well, yeah, they extended it by 2 years.
Did they?
Yep. And actually, then they kind of put the blame on COVID and not being able to do the consultation, but all the consultation was phone or online, and I didn't realize COVID transmitted that way, right? It was something I wasn't aware of, but yeah, we were really disappointed. I know as an association, we've been pushing. First presentation to TIR when we did the pilot sites was 128 pages in a PowerPoint, and the second one we give them was a binder of 268 pages of areas around the province where, like 12 letters from councillors and businesses up in Parsboro supporting it, right? The landowner permission on both sides. Here's the route. The consultant really couldn't believe why government hadn't made a move onto it, right? So, but, we talk about use on the highways and dictating things like what the town can do and stuff. And, I know you shut some streets down during Wharf Rat Rally, and that's through the provincial traffic authority. Is that how you get the authority to do that, or?
Yeah, we have our own traffic authority, so we can block off streets. But
Okay.
We can't, this particular, we can't say that we're gonna allow ATVs because the Motor Vehicle Act doesn't allow that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So could we apply for a pilot project for 790 meters?
Well, I know I think that's what the route that Town of Yarmouth is trying to go through, and they haven't had any luck with the province.
And the town of Shelburne,
Yeah.
also recently.
But that's what we're kind of hoping for, is that the more towns buy into this and write the letters, then the government's going to see that there is a need for it.
I'm sure like Yarmouth and Shelburne has a lot bigger areas to get approved more than just 790 meters.
Yeah, well, it would be Water Street in Yarmouth, right? Which I think is a few
Yeah,
kilometers.
right from
Yeah.
Tim Hortons to the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, one of the things I thought about, could First Avenue, say, for example, be shut down and labeled local traffic only?
Problem is the fire department.
What's that?
Problem is the fire department, emergency vehicles.
Well, but except for emergency vehicles, for
Yeah.
example, and then allow ATVs to use the First Avenue that way.
There's a lot of trucks that use that street.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, so that'd be good. But just, Paul had a question, I can know what yours.
I'll be very frank with you. I've seen the good, the bad, very ugly. The good are very good friends of mine, enjoy getting there side by side, and they can travel from Weymouth and go right to Yarmouth, and they stay in the motel that's right on the side of the trail in Yarmouth, and they have a wonderful time with friends. It's great. And I'd love to see that sort of thing happen in Digby, where there's a great big group of them who stop and get fuel and feed and all that sort of thing. It's great. The bad, I think we get really frustrated when it comes to the RCMP, and they go up and down streets where there are kids playing, and the RCMP will not even engage to try and stop them. And the ugly, where we've had people walking on our trail inside of town limits and almost getting run over by someone on a four-wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tough sell in some ways.
Yeah.
But I think out of that, like you touched on a little bit, but and a lot of things like the United States, I forget in Maine, it's not the forest rangers, but lands and forest equivalent.
Conservation officer.
Yes. And they use those types of road stops as a way to monitor speed, check insurance, check registrations, do all those things because there's a group of Littleton together, right?
DNR does do some of that here.
Yeah,
And I've seen them towed.
but you're not, I mean, it's
Consistent.
gonna be bad apples and everything.
Yeah.
Right, but you sort of gotta overcome that
Mm-hmm.
in some way.
Yeah.
And it's good tools to try and do that.
Oh, yeah.
We as a club is frustrated with that as well. We had a big problem with that in the Walmart parking lot.
Yes.
And we asked DNR, how come you're not stopping them? Said, we are. If we turn our lights on and go in Walmart parking lot, that makes everything, that raises the risk up to here. Because they take off and they run. He said, we take a picture of them, we get an ID. He said, we see them out on the trail, we seize their bike for what they did there. He said, it might not be the stop at the time. He said, it could be the next day. He said, it could be 2 hours. He said, but they do. And they do. I know I've called him and said, we've got a problem here. He called me back, said, I just towed three machines.
I've heard that from the RCMP too. They
Yep.
said if we chase them, someone's gonna get hurt.
Yep.
So we try to get that plate that's supposed to be on that thing. Yeah.
Take
So-
a description of the bike.
So cutting across, when they cut across like McDonald's and by the tavern, is that because they wanna come in this end of town? Like, why do they cross over there?
They used to.
That's, McDonald's isn't a cross. That was never a legal crossing. The tavern and Edge was a legal crossing. They crossed there to go to Smith Cove.
Did you say what illegal? What's legal? Did you say the Ed's
Edge is a legal crossing.
is legal?
Yeah. And they come across. Ricky Stewart and them fellows live down the south end of town. He takes his bike. There's a couple club members that live down there. They have to drive a little bit of the road to get to the trail. But they cross there and come over, right? Or we have an ATV jamboree in Weymouth on the 18th. The last time we had it, 2019, the Mountain Gap Inn had 25 rooms booked. So we had 25 ATVs staying at the Mountain Gap that cross there to go. That's a hard highway to cross at the best of times.
But the government gave you like $1 million bridge, but they won't.
They give us a $3 million bridge.
Yeah. They won't allow other things, it's kind of weird.
But also the government is not only give us a bridge, they give Oxford a tunnel, and they're incorporating ATV trails in their highway planning. When they build a highway now, they look at the clubs and see what trails are around, and they're making passes for them to get across it.
That was the question I was gonna ask you. You were talking about 790 meters. If CO investigates it and we're allowed to do it, or get through that whole process, what do you see that needs to be done to First Avenue to make it safe? A ATV lane, or just signage, or?
All we've done in the other areas is posted at the beginning where you enter the highway pilot sites. All the other pilot sites, we just have a map and it shows the rules and it says, here's where you can travel. And then we put signage up type thing.
And we could also incorporate into the club meetings. We could have a town hall meeting as an ATV club saying, look, they're thinking about giving us this road. If you're an ATV driver, come out and this is your education.
Because none of us are gonna want those phone calls.
Oh,
Because for years, we got quite a few, but actually they have gone down, and I think part of the reason is because we did allow, the responsible ones do come into this end, and the other ones down by Tyvee. So it has quieted down a lot, but there is still, like Peter says, the ones that run up Maiden Lane, and I got 2 or 3.
Yeah, we got electric and gas bikes coming through, and my scooter will go 30 kilometers an hour. I live in Canada, right? So so I can do that like right down the street. Like,
They had a study, when we went to the Advantage AGM, it was up in Halifax somewhere, and the greatest risk on the trails was bicycles. They made the most damage.
You mentioned south end of town. I was in side-by-side using one of the town streets before. See, it was a full face shield. I could go like this till we got to the trail.
Yeah.
Chap that lives down there.
But that's the thing. Nobody sees the guy driving down, putting down the side of the road, getting to where he wants to go. But everybody sees that fella going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. That's the question I have. You talk about right alongside the highway. You see that all the time. And I know they're trying to get to a trail.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to do that for a certain distance, or not allowed to do that?
Not Yeah, not allowed to travel on the
I was
aid or shoulder portion of the
You can
highway.
cross the road at a 90-degree angle to get to trail to trail.
So that's, you know,
What do you do, Keith, if, I know that you can go pretty much Weymouth and now the pilot project, you can go through Weymouth and get trail and Raging Yarmouth.
You can leave the train station here and go to the train station in Yarmouth legally.
So going the other way, how do you get across Clementsport? And
You don't.
across that?
There is no trail on the other side of Bear River Bridge to Annapolis. Annapolis is not ATV friendly.
Right.
You have to get on the trail on the other side of Annapolis and Moshel.
So do people sort of start in Yarmouth, drive to a point, trailer, the machine?
They go to Yarmouth to here. We're trying to make a connector trail through the back of Bear River, and then you come out through West Dalhousie and come into Bridgetown. But that's a long ways to go, right? But right now there is no connection trail.
So you know, our vision was you could get up towards Smith Cove and then maybe access up into Bear River. And then once you get up into Bear River, you can go up through to what they call the Victory Road, out along the number 8 highway, connect out there in Maitland, hook into the old Ballwater property, and go back down into Bridgetown type of thing, right? Like, we went to Annapolis Royal and they were not very receptive. We just wanted to get it to town with a parking space, and we weren't very receptive, so going around type of thing. So
it's very common in northern New Brunswick with snowmobiles and ATVs. You go right down the street, you go to the restaurant.
more and more places, like Corner Brook, Newfoundland permits it. So yeah,
They're starting to come out with them. I think they got a 30 kilometer range to them. We got no charging stations on our trails yet.
Well, all we could do tonight is, I've thought of it for a number of years, because, we talked about it before, is that CAO just keeps investigating as to whether we can or can't do that. Then we have another get-together and say, well, we can do it,
So,
and then we decide.
we have made an application to the Active Transportation Fund to do a study for active transportation. So included in that, if we get funding for that study, included in that study could be this missing link, right? So, to give us more ammunition.
Yep.
So, it is somewhat on our radar.
Yeah. I know the town of Yarmouth was actually talking about trying to see if they could use some of their parking spaces along Water Street. They were talking about redesigning it, right, to put the trail to the one side of the street type of thing, right? But
With the bike lane.
Yeah.
Bike lanes, and that's
Bike
the
lanes
problem.
everywhere.
Why can't you do an ATV lane?
yeah,
And
exactly.
really, if you think about it, there used to be a train that went
Yeah.
along.
Yes.
Yeah, then it was a two-way street at the time too.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Like the train didn't go by, I'd say, the train didn't go by. We might have.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I say, if you guys are seeing a problem with four-wheelers and stuff, get a description. Then let me know, and I don't mind sending that on. Huh?
Arguments in the middle of the night.
No, I have them going down by my house too, and I live on the highway.
Lighthouse Road, they're up and
Yep.
down all day, Tom with the.
But that's, it's hard for us to get enforcement to help us if we don't have the backing for them to come. Right? So, and that's what they keep telling me. They say, we got a problem here. I say, well, you don't have a problem here because I got no proof saying you got a problem. So the more you put to them, then the more they can help you.
Now, I'm gonna ask you a question. Is there, through these associations in the province, if council decides after we, is there any, funding, like if we decide to paint an ATV bike lane there, or we decide to put a camera up to catch, sign it and all that, is there any
Yeah.
funding
Yeah.
available? for that?
There's the Off-Highway Vehicle Infrastructure Fund, which is, every rider pays $40 each year, so there's usually.
That's the fund that we use with the town on the trail
Oh, the south end?
on the south end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all that is. Takes a letter by us to support you, and it's a grant that you get the 5,000 or however you need, but we have to put that much in kind in. Yep.
The issue, bad thing about this missing link here is the width that we have, right?
Yep.
So we only have 33 feet,
Mm-hmm.
right, on 66. If we had 66 feet, then we could go over, away from the road, build a trail, right? Parallel with the street, you wouldn't be on the street, you'd be on your own trail. Right? That's what we did actually down on Montague Road, that link, that owned by,
Earls and Peters.
Pearl Peter Yancey.
Yep.
Yeah, we can reopen that part of that trail.
Yeah.
So we didn't come asking for money, we just.
No.
Right?
But if you got money.
We got some review.
This street, when I lived on it for 10 years, was one way. It was one way.
Another option, yeah.
It was one way this way. Actually, there was one of these 25 years ago, pictures in the Courier, and it was my car at the one-way stop here. Karen and I going that way, but it wasn't the way. At one time, then they changed it it got changed a number of times. But anyway, okay,
We're not against it, so.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time. and
Yeah.
Listening to us.
Really appreciate it.
Unless we come and talk about it, there's no way of knowing, right? So-
I can see why I don't have it. They said salary is $83,000 for ATV owners, so obviously Keith is getting paid too much, Tom.
I can guarantee you. No.
Okay, well, anyway, yeah, so Tom will continue his work on it. And,
If you hear anything, let us know.
I've seen the responsible ones, like I said, a number of times go, they've eaten over here, they walk downtown, and then they just quietly went down this way.
We had a run leave out of here 2 or 3 years ago for a Jordan Morgan helping with his cancer thing, and we all met down here and left, and I think that went over good.
There's never any complaints about it.
Yeah.
So I think when people see a big group, they say, well, there must be something going on, a special, but they see that kid flying through.
And it's the sad thing is you're always going to see that kid.
And I think it's gonna be a different look as well, because you may have 6 or 7 people come on the weekend, or Friday night, or Sunday, it won't be like every day of the week, 10 or 15 going up and
No.
down the street, it's, you know. It
No.
gives you an opportunity to come in to walk around, or come into
Yeah.
an event, to do a weekly thing, or weekend thing type thing.
It's a good promotion for you to say to people in St. John, come on the ferry, park your car, park your trailer, wait out.
I would love for them to load their bike right on the ferry and drive from the ferry.
There's one in Newfoundland to do that.
They can do that there,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
And-
you load right on North Sydney and get on the ferry.
That ATV Appreciation Days in 2019 I was telling you about, I had a parade permit to go from the ferry because we was expecting people from New Brunswick over. And the parade permit was from the ferry to the cement plant. But then they backed out, so then we canceled that. And for us to go on the road legally, we have to have a parade permit.
So is that how Scallop Days Parade, their parade marshal uses a four-wheeler? Is that under that license?
Well, they just I think.
In fact, we have a run on the 18th of June this year, and we need a parade permit from the rail bid on Henry Mallett Road to the Fourth Lake.
Okay.
And the RCMP they designated any fire department to help us. So we've got a couple of calls at the fire departments. They just got to lead us there and lead us back.
Okay, well, we'll keep in contact, and as things unfold, we'll probably have you back, so.
Keith will probably be the lead because I'm actually leaving my job at the end of June, so. No, I'm going to work.
Greener pastures.
With Public Works as their OHV and Trails Program Administrator position.
Who was the other guy we used to talk with, Barry Barnett, was that?
Barry's our Executive Director with that Vans, yep.
Yep.
Talk to Barry quite often on it,
Yep, so.
Okay, good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Then carry on with your exciting stuff.
You're not staying?
Yeah.
I was gonna. This goes a little.
Well, moving right on, minutes of May the 2nd, 2022. Everybody read those?
Motion to accept.
Accept, seconder?
Second.
Any errors or omissions or anything? None? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, nays? None. May 16th, 2022, special council meeting. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Paul?
Or seconded.
Okay. All those in favor of that motion? Aye. Okay, no unfinished business. CAO report. He's back from COVID as I am. I don't know who gave it to who, but.
Neither do I.
No, actually, I know where I got it. Yeah.
Okay, so the modified work week, so, all the town employees have returned to regular hours, 8:30 to 4:30, Monday to Friday. The earned day off program will commence once the policy is approved by council. So basically, what we did was, when they had their last day off that we earned, then when they come back on, they had that Friday off, and they come back on Monday, they started 8:30 to 4:30 regular hours. So everybody is back on 8:30 to 4:30 now, we went through the 2 teams.
Yep.
Community Development Coordinator. So interviews were conducted on Thursday, June 2nd, 2022. 2 candidates were interviewed, and the interview committee met again today to make a decision on the successful candidate. So the successful candidate, I can't really pronounce her last name. Katrina is her first name. She goes by Kat, and she's
Is that Cat Mao, Illinois?
no,
Okay.
no. It starts with and I should have brought the file. I could have took a stab at trying to pronounce her last name. But anyway.
Kovalenko.
Huh? Kovalenko? Yeah.
What's it again?
Kovalenko.
Okay.
Must play for Boston.
She's originally from Ukraine. Been here for several years, I guess. Nova Scotia. So.
Very good.
Anyway, so I contacted her this afternoon by phone to find out whether she actually wanted to accept it, and she very graciously accepted.
Very graciously declined.
Yeah, but you know, it wasn't difficult. We had 2 candidates, and they were so close. It was a difficult decision.
Does she have a place to live?
Yeah, that's how close they were.
Does she have a place to live?
Does she have a place to live? She lives in just the other side of in Clare, just Bellevue or somewhere. Right? And the other lady was from the Bridgetown area. So we did have we shortlisted the 3 originally. One was a local male, and when he was called for the interviews, he rejected the interviews that he had already got a job. So
Yeah, he started last Tuesday, I think, actually, or the week before Tuesday, he was telling me.
so anyway,
Tom, could you have her maybe come to a Canadian council meeting so we can meet her?
yeah. So she will be. We're working on when she's going to be able to come, if she's to work for committee by this committee of the whole, and because she will be considered part of my senior management team because of the role that she's going to play, and she's going to need to work with finance, and going to have to work with public works because we're especially on the grants and stuff. So she'll be invited. If not, then the next committee, July's committee, if not before. Tri-County Regional Planning Service, so the work has officially begun on this initiative. And so they are going to look at the possible governance and operational structure, and they'll be reaching out to schedule virtual bilateral interviews with all COs in the Tri-Counties to get everyone's feedback and insights into the proposed concept, which is an important foundational piece for this project, and we want to ensure they understand all perspectives. There will be outreach to councils that will follow at a later date, and I'll keep you apprised of developments through the project.
Tom, this is different off topic, but the building department, the municipality's hired an individual. Who's the chief building inspector down there? It's not this chap, is it? I know this chap.
No.
Okay. I could say if it is, I'd like to have him come just so that he knows, he realizes he works for the town and the municipality.
Actually, later in the thing, there is an appointment of, because they've got, for our fire inspectors, see, they've got nobody trained for fire inspection. The municipality, Digby doesn't, nor do they have a class 2 building inspector, which is the chief building inspector. So they're I guess, renting or buying that service from Claire, who in turn will be ours as well through the agreement. So basically, we have to, under the Fire Protection Act and under the Municipal Government Act, we have to appoint building inspectors and we have to appoint fire inspectors. So just to make it legal so they can come and actually do inspections on our behalf. And they say that they're appointing.
The fire inspection course, which I've looked at, is online and or you go to the fire school and take some courses.
I think Daniel, who we mentioned, he was a fire chief in St. Bernard's. So
Yeah,
he's got all those courses.
Yeah. So, okay, now, anyway, I just it popped in my head here last.
Yeah. Yeah, the next thing is the marketing levy, so the mayor, warden, and Jeff Sutherland and I, and 2 members of data executive met on the 31st of May to discuss the path forward. We now have official confirmation that the provincial legislation has been proclaimed and was effective May 10th, 2022. The data executive members stated that at DATA's annual meeting there was discussion around the membership of the committee and that amendments were wanted in the bylaws and also the timeline of the levy to come into effect. So the consensus of the meeting was that the councils needed to discuss the levy and the steps forward. So that's on the agenda for later tonight to sort of bring everybody up to speed on where we are and what we look like, how we're going to go forward.
I still get the impression, maybe I'm wrong, that they expect the levy to be a revenue source when actually it's supposed to be used for projects.
Yeah. Well, it can.
Am I wrong?
Well, yes, they hire people with their money too. As a revenue, they hire staff. And that's what it is.
And
They hire a
they've
marketing person.
Done that before, right?
Yeah. Huh?
And they've done those sorts of things before.
Who, data?
Yeah.
Not just special grants and programs.
Oh, so they've never had a person there
No,
from any,
Actually, they're about to lay off this fall, maybe, pretty soon. No. But we'll discuss that in detail here. Because I took hard line with them. I was the mean cop with them.
You're the one that generated that letter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think we're on the same page.
Well, I don't think they've been reading the pages that they got over the last 10 years. Anyway, any questions for Tom on that?
One question with the marketing levy person, not the the community development coordinator. Should we as council individuals come up with a few priorities and lists, not for July obviously, but as it moves on for the position as far as what we like to see for projects and what we should go after, or?
I think that, I think probably the first month, she'll be trying to get
I'm talking like September.
Yeah. And, basically, I'm hopeful that, she's gonna come to council with, these are the things that are available. Not that I'm not saying that we do want it to come the other way too, from council to staff. But we're hiring her to find these things, and then council can prioritize what we should be going for,
It's a lot easier that way if she's got some ideas for sure.
So that's what I'm hoping for, and, you know, we gotta give her a little bit to get her feet wet.
I mean, even if we could have a session in September, October, like on a Saturday or whatever, just, you know.
What she wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just gonna have to figure this up first.
Yeah.
And I mean, in her interview, she was the one that talked about grants, provincial, federal, and even corporate grants. So, yeah, she's got that kind of stuff on her radar, right? So, as she said, you know, it's not just government funding that there is some corporate grants that, so she's looking, she can be looking for that, and, you know.
And that's what we want, someone that we're gonna, you know, sort of fund their own job type thing, so.
Well, that's quite often what happens,
Yeah, and I mean, that was expressed to both candidates during the interview, was the fact that, because both of them were sort of wondering whether, the 2-year would be extended after the 2-year. And that, so basically the onus was told that the onus was on them to prove to council that it's money well spent, right?
Yeah.
And that the need is there, the results are there. And, so like I said, it was a hard decision on picking one candidate out of those 2 people. If we'd had 2 positions, we'd had 2 very capable people. And
I'll tell you the story of one that we hired, a good employee, but we offered the first one, they didn't take it, didn't offer the second one, they didn't take it, didn't offer the third one, so we had to offer the 4th one, who was in the audience when we were saying. And it worked out well. Okay, we'll move on to Committee of the Whole report. There's 2 recommendations came from the Committee of the Whole. One was do an extensive review of town of Digby salaries, scales, on or before January 1, 2023. That's not that far away. So,
Motion for that?
Yeah,
We're going to the CAO conduct an extensive review of the town of Digby salary scales and file a report on and before January 31st, 2023 to council for review and discussion.
And they do take time, you know,
Oh, they do.
to a lot of different groups and communities to.
I was gonna say 24, but.
No. Any discussion on that motion? None? Can we have all those in favor say yay?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? None. And we just referenced this HR policy, earned day off to be approved. I call it flex policy because some companies I know do
it's
that.
basically the same.
Flex policy.
Yeah, it's the same type of program.
Yeah.
And in the research that I did, it was called both things. But the majority of them was flex time.
Yeah, flex time. Yeah. Any comments or questions on it? You've had a chance to read it. You talked with it last week.
I'll just say that the only thing that was added to the policy since Committee of the Whole was at the bottom of page 5, the repeal. That was the statement that this policy replaces and repeals admin policy 2021, the modified work week policy. I've forgotten we didn't have that put in. So instead of, by passing this policy, we also repeal.
Okay, yeah.
I'd like to move the HR policy number 202201, earned day off, we approve this prison.
I'll second that.
Second that. Any comments or questions? None? So we're not gonna change this one, we're going to.
No,
No, good.
This one here.
It takes a long time to work, you fellas.
And if this doesn't work, then
Run.
we're on the road.
Okay, waste check.
What's in the package? 3 highlights. Cart size. There was concern by staff that the amount of staff that they had trying to maintain 3 different size carts was a little bit too much. But everybody around the table said, no, we've got to have 2 sizes at least, because you can't say to an 80-year-old woman trying to stay in her own home that she's got to wheel a 45-gallon to the end of her driveway in the middle of winter. So that was a big one. The other one was sort of a legal question, because they got from the landfill manager of the Queens site, they did not want to accept fishing rope anymore, which wasn't so much an issue, except legally they're changing the terms of the contract. And we weren't really up for that. So there's going to be a discussion there between a couple of people to sort of iron that one out. And the other one,
there is a meeting, CAO's a meeting.
Is there, okay?
Probably via Zoom. I'm going to attend via Zoom because today I got a lot of other things going on. So, but to talk about the road issue.
Yeah.
I mean, basically they got, I sort of heard that Queens was pulling back a little bit, said, well, we don't want it in their second generation, but we may have to be able to take it in their C and D site or something. So I don't know what.
Is it because there's an increased use of rope coming in? Because a lot of that is leading to people cleaning it up.
The quantities.
The quantities.
Yeah. And the concern on our part was, well, if you stop taking it, it's just going to wind up in the backwoods.
Yeah, or left on the beach where you have beach weeks. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That wouldn't go over very well.
The other thing was talk of black bags again, so that's moving forward, where the elimination of black bags is going to happen eventually, sooner than later. And while we were on the subject, and we were talking about the fact that cans and bottles you still see around the countryside, and the abundance of Tim Hortons cup. The deposit fee for those cans and bottles has not changed in, well, forever, since it was initiated. And we're also going to have a discussion on taxing drink cups. So we said we may as well have a discussion ourselves and see what sort of the will of the group is, and then maybe send something to the provincial government, because it's ultimately their responsibility. But we may as well have the conversation as opposed to having something enforced on us later on.
Because Tim Hortons, or I'll just use the word Tim Hortons.
Yeah, I shouldn't single them out.
Yeah, because you see all the other fast food chains. They're not recyclable, are they? Because of the inner wire they have? Yeah, so that's an issue. Tim Hortons are. They are now?
Ours are.
And yours too?
Yeah. They gotta separate the plastic top and the paper bottom.
Yeah, you gotta separate those two, but with the 2 strings. The paper can go on paper.
Okay.
But you kind of see, not many years ago, you saw a lot of people on the highway picking up cans and bottles. You see a lot of cans sitting on the side of the road because it's only a nickel and people are not there at the time to drive out there and do it.
Yeah, especially now with the cost of gas.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
One question I had on the black bags. How soon do they see that starting, and are they going to give any notice, I guess, to at least restaurants and bars and
they would
like
like
Walmart
over a year.
Right?
Yep. And they also had some discussion too on a tag program, so that if you had a beach cleanup, for example, they would be issued tags to put on their black bags, and that they would be picked up if they had a tag.
Special occasion type thing.
Yeah.
Because there's retailers that have quite a few of those on the shelves, so you gotta get time to.
I don't think there's many black bags downtown now, but for the
Well, when I said too, that Greg, God love him, he will, if you have more than one bag, his guys will pick it up for you.
Yeah.
He's being taken advantage of in a lot of times. But, yeah.
But I think especially in town, the reason that he does it is because if he leaves it there, then he's gonna have to, he'll get a call from us because, you go and pick that up, or we gotta do something with it, or we have to pick it up, put it in our dumpster, and it ends up where it ends up anyway, at the same place, so, that's why, especially in town, he'll, unless he sees that, somebody got 25 black bags out, then he'll sticker them and leave them. He'll usually call us to let us know, so that, let Bruce know, so Bruce can.
And he has said, this is my town, I'm gonna keep it clean. I've heard him say that statement a number of times. I live here, I'm gonna keep it clean.
And I kind of want to, when we have our next meeting, ask, I feel, and I don't know why, there seems to be an increase in rodents. There seems to be more rats around than ever before, and I don't know what's changed.
There was a story on CBC last fall about the increase of rodents in the province of Nova Scotia. It's been perfect. I listened to it, they said it's just been perfect conditions for rodents.
But you would have thought with the winter we had last year, it would have sort of cut down a little, but it doesn't seem to.
Yeah, no, they are. I had to catch some of my yard last fall.
Well, right across the street from you on the corner, I was driving up, there was two ran underneath a car in the middle of the day.
That's his pet rat.
Ah,
Yeah.
But they were talking about that because this was coming out of Halifax. And part of the reason the city was because there was less composting going up because a lot of places were closed because of COVID. And the rats were leaving town looking for food. Part of the reason, but they also said the weather was good. But same thing. I've seen more around here.
Our compost will be every week now, though, right?
Yeah. Okay. And you have, you're on waste track now, Will?
I'm off waste check.
You're off waste check?
I'm on the senior safety, so
I'm on.
to help with some facilitation of stuff and give me an opportunity to take all the senior safety stuff that I hear about and actually talk about it in the meetings.
Yeah, I see it on Zoom. I switched that channel.
Yeah, so.
Which just brings up the subject, we're coming up to 2 years for everybody being on the committee, so we'll talk to Leslie and Tom about the list of committees and give everybody the opportunity that wants to rotate and see what goes on with some of the other committees. So we'll be doing that over a couple of months. There may be some committees that you're on now, you want to stay on because of projects and stuff, that's fine, but if you're not, then you might be interested in something else.
you gotta get the fire hall committee going.
Yeah. Okay. Correspondence, Big D area tourism. This is all kind of ties under our lip. They sent us a letter. Because of the announcement, they're in having some financial challenges.
So a quick question.
Yep.
And I guess trying to understand as well. So if this starts in January, right? We're gonna start collecting in this January?
Well, we're gonna have that conversation.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how would they think that they'd have a lot of funding this summer anywhere in this current year? Because do we plan to pay like projects out quarterly or?
Well, it depends, once we get the committee up and running. But the whole intent was, this is supposed to be in place a year or 2 years ago, so they were kind of working on that.
Right.
Because it didn't happen, they don't have any funds.
Right.
So they're now asking, because Minister Lohr or somebody in these conversations said possibly there might be some money at the provincial level to get them through this summer. But then again, if it starts October 1st, January 1st, or they only get what's going to be collected at the end of a 30, 60 day period. So there's not a lot of money coming even. No, it's good. They're going to be a year before from the day this goes in place.
Right.
And I've explained it, and I'm sure everybody else has in my conversations. There's not a check coming for $130,000.
No.
And it took quite a while for that to sink in. So anyway, but they're just asking if we could on their behalf to reach out to the CCH. I think it was was it Community Heritage Cultures?
Yeah.
That kind of hinted.
Yeah, well, I think it was the,
Yeah.
that minister that put the brakes on our levy.
Yeah.
Because he said we get unfair advantage. We have an unfair advantage over other units in province.
We've got an unfair advantage over us for how many years?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I was at a meeting the other day, and I said, a lot of people go to Cape Breton. Why? Because it's beautiful. But why do they go there? Because they hear about it. They have a full-time marketing division up there. Same way with Peggy Cole, so short.
Yeah.
Same way with Yarmouth. That minister was very surprised that Yarmouth had a marketing levy.
Yeah.
And they've had it for years. I know he do get the grant, but still.
Yeah.
And Halifax has one. Anyway, so this letter is just simply, we could reach out to the minister and write a letter or something to CCH and ask him if there's any, because of this delay, which had nothing to do with us, is there some funding to get their marketing person through that they hinted to us, but they told him probably be laid off by early fall or something like that. Yeah. So, and his position was being funded by grants and things like that. And
This is the same group who pushed for an earlier date, then were upset that it was a later date, and then wanted an even still later date.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page.
Yeah. The thing with it is, we'll get into that now.
Yeah. That's a letter.
Anyway, but I don't see any reason why we at least can't write a letter to the minister saying, as a result of what's gone on here over the last 2.5 years, this thing has been proclaimed twice, according to Eagle Online. Is there some funding here for them? We need marketing. We need somebody focused on marketing.
Yeah, we do.
And right now it's data.
You want a motion or is that just direction?
Direction. Come up with something.
Yeah, it's final direction.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on, spring into summer event. I see the municipalities giving away stuff. Leslie.
Oh, we are too.
Oh, yeah. And they're having prizes, promote. I see them advertising that today. I don't know what they're giving away.
Spring into
Taxes.
summer?
Yeah. Matthew Ross shared it. Said come to our booth. We'll have prizes. And
Let's tell us. That's
no,
not municipality.
no, Sheriff Municipality. Anyway, I was going to post give away taxes, but
We may give away a shirt or something nice, but not taxes.
I know. Just teasing me.
So I did put out a doodle poll, and I did hear from a few councils on attendance at the spring to summer. I think we'll be okay for setup for Friday night. I think Saturday is mostly covered. You reached out and said that you could cover a shift, and I think there's one still available.
I'll be there. I just wasn't
And that's-
sure where
yeah.
I was going to be.
And I wasn't, because I haven't talked to you about what you, and what do you picture it to look like? I know Mike threw in some ideas, like, and we will have probably the most current newsletter, and is there things that you'd like for me to have on your table for you to distribute to people or talk about? And I asked Matthew to put together that nice draft sheet of budget, like where do your dollars go kind of thing, so you can you'll have that out. Because around 1,300 people passed through the last time they had spring in the summer, and I didn't realize the attendance was quite that large.
Yeah, it is.
But,
can you put on the table one of our satellite phones and what kind of electronic gadget and say this is where some of your money goes? Because I look, a booth with a bunch of papers.
Yeah, and I'm fearful we're not going to have the right, like, I'd like for you to tell me what you'd like to see.
But the paper's a good idea, so you get them over there here, but something that's attractive to the table, I don't know, it's.
Some dirty bunker gear.
Yeah, well, when we had the show at the fire hall, that's what we did, we had we had 20 odd services there, and they all bought, like Public Works brought in pipes and all their stuff, and RCMP had their stuff.
You have power at the booth?
We do have power at the booth, yeah.
Maybe we can project, fire department pictures pictures, water department pictures.
I mean, we can
Sculptures.
set up like a PowerPoint kind of deal to run through if that's what you wish, but if, yeah, we gotta have, yeah, cause it's a week from this Saturday, so.
Oh,
the time
pictures are good to do.
Short.
Yeah, so you wanna,
Fire department, Van Tassel Lake.
yeah, by the way, Mantas Lake just gonna grant $3,000.
Fantastic, yeah, cool. Public Works, Marina.
Yeah, you could reach out to all of them,
Public
say, what do you have
gardens.
little that you can
Yeah.
set on the table,
Yeah.
or something?
So you're picturing things on the table rather than PowerPoint?
Not really.
Well, PowerPoint, the things too, you know,
Okay.
it's a gadget, you know, people are walking by and say, what's that, you know, and then you got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to get questions on the
Water meters.
splash park.
They're gonna be there.
They're gonna be there.
Yeah, you should have, yeah.
I think they're gonna, see, they got some money last night, so.
People might have questions on their water meters and stuff too, I don't know.
We have a spare, like I can put things like that. Alright.
Yeah, we can find it, yeah.
You're gonna leave now.
But if you need any,
Yeah,
if you need
I'll-
anything, pictures and stuff and anything from anywhere, just let me know. Reach out, I'll go grab it, steal it, bang, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got our stand-up kind of thing.
We've got our roll up beginner
Yeah.
that we can put
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
and, yeah.
Yeah, you need that,
Pardon me,
we probably need to invest in
t-shirts?
some new ones.
Yeah.
I think I've got some downstairs. I just gotta double check.
What's that?
T-shirts, Paul asked.
The banners are nice too, that are up there, nice.
Hmm.
I know it's not tonight, they must just been up there.
Yeah, they're going up today.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Sarah drove, Sarah and I drove to town, she pointed and looked at me. The banners are up.
Something on, the senior tax credit or whatever, that'd be important to have.
The
there.
provincial one?
Yeah.
It ended May 31st for us.
Yeah, so ours is done.
Yeah, they're all
Yeah.
done. A lot of
Be
people
nice-
don't.
be
But
nice
the
to have.
provincial one is coming.
Right,
Not
so
yet.
some info on that would be nice, right?
That's the $500 one?
Yeah.
No, that's the one
That's
that's
the
$800.
grant,
Grant.
Yeah, 800, yeah.
Might be nice to have a large blow up of our proposed downtown renewal.
Yeah, I still get people asking me where we are with that, so they
Yeah.
have something. You, yeah,
Okay, that's quite a few
Yeah,
ideas,
yeah.
so we can work with that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want, we can go over a couple hours, or whatever, someday, just let me know.
Saturday.
Huh?
Saturday.
No, I mean, to work on it, just let me know.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I'd love to get off work a couple hours.
Okay.
and hang out.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, marketing room levy, I don't know where we want to start with that. As Tom said, we met, and I was at, excuse me, a meeting prior to that meeting that we had, and I was, actually, the next day I apologized to Greg Turner, because I just got out of the hospital, and I was, who knows where I was in the meeting when I had with him, but I was frustrated because there seemed to be lack of any knowledge of what we've done over the last 2.5 years. They hadn't looked at the bylaw, even though I know the previous chair had seen the bylaw, worked very closely with us. So I was frustrated over that, and there was some other things that come up in the conversation. I was frustrated, and I said to him, basically, get your act together, or I'll go back to council and recommend we just drop the whole bloody thing. That's what I said. And the next day I called Greg, I got old Greg, said, Greg, I apologize, and just get out of the hospital. I did just day before that, and it just like, it seemed they had no knowledge of what was going on, and hadn't seen the bylaw, and I said, well, the bylaw was sent to you folks a long time ago. It was there was no communication, I guess, between us, there was no communication amongst them, and I brought it up at the second meeting that Tom and I attended, that I went through a whole year's worth of newsletters, and there was no information in the newsletters that was going out to the members. And that was, I would have thought would have been front page news.
Yeah.
It was in their minutes that they discussed it. So, the whole thing, there was not a lot of communication going on between everybody. But, they're happy that it's here. Tom explained the process, the first reading, second reading, between that first and second reading. they expect they're gonna come if they want some changes, and I had basically said to them, this bylaw is identical to Yarmouth. They thought it was Halifax for some reason, didn't they, Tom? Thought it was Halifax. And I said, why do you want to change something that's been very successful for Yarmouth? Yarmouth has collected over $1 million the last 10 years. They were concerned that they weren't listed there, but we can't list them, as you explained. We can't list them because if we list Digby Tourism and next year they no longer exist, we gotta go through the whole process again. So, but on the committee is 4 members from the fixed group accommodation, am I right? So they theoretically could have 4 members on that committee. And they do have a challenge that they're only one other executive lives in Digby County, and you have, and you have to live in Digby County or the town, because we got, or Digby District. So that's a problem they have to address. Because they live in Annapolis County, except for one, and they didn't want that.
Yeah, we didn't really seem to want that person to be.
Sitting strange, yeah.
Had a conflict or something, so.
Yeah, maybe, well, it was fixed room and on the executive, but, so theoretically, they can control the committee. Now, they weren't overly happy that the mayor or designate or the warden doesn't, and I had said early on that this is, it didn't matter to me whether we had a political seat, but we do have some responsibility to the public. Even though we're just the bankers collecting the money, and it transitions out to projects as they submit plans, marketing plans and things. It should stay non-political, and I guess at the end of the day they accepted that, because if something goes wrong, we're going to take the heat. Even though we're just bankers, we're going to take the heat.
Yeah, we're the tax collector. We're collecting it, it's public money, and we're insuring, so we have to have a seat at the table, but we've only got 1 member from each 2 members out of the six people. So one thing for sure, it's not politically top heavy.
No.
Right?
And it shouldn't be. I don't own fixed room accommodation, so I shouldn't try to, I'm interested in marketing, but I shouldn't have a veto on marketing. It should come from the experts in the industry. And, so that would be the 4 seats they come from. So, and as you referred to, they offer 2 or 3 different dates, and we have that correspondence. So that's what it really comes down to now is the process, and I don't know. They were saying January 1st, and then they said October, and it's been suggested again that we look at April 1 next year. I think they think that's a little late. So were they kind of pointing towards January, Tom?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a 2-month process for us. It takes 2 months for us to repass the bylaw, right? So, Jeff and I have suggested that September, October for getting the bylaw repassed, right? I had suggested that we not start collecting money until April 1st. That gives us plenty of time after the bylaw is passed to get information out to them and get everybody registered and answer any concerns that anybody has before we actually start collecting. Because that was one of the things that we heard this last time was they didn't want us to, or they said we rushed them. They didn't have time to absorb it, what it means and things like that. So it was suggested January 1st to be the collection date. So we have we meet on the 1st of the month. Municipal council meets at the end of the month, the last Monday of the month. We are the 1st, so basically it's going to be the end of October before the municipality will have theirs passed. We could have ours done by the 1st of October. But anyway, so we're talking November before we can even And then we get to, advertise. Once it's advertised, then it becomes in force, right? The bylaw. So we're gonna be mid-November. And then when we turn around once, we'll be into the Christmas season. And, you know, some of them aren't gonna wanna, but we've gotta give enough lead time, and that's why I suggested that we give them winter. They said, well, some of them, they advertise the rates on all these different things, and they have to do that. Well, it's, you know, yes, they might need to know, but things do change. I mean, the government tomorrow could say, guess what? GST or HST is now 20% instead of 15%.
That's what I said to him.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what are they gonna do? Only charge 15 until, you know, their bookings are
that
up?
argument until the cows came home. You still could take reservations today for next Christmas. It doesn't really matter when the cutoff date is.
There's no good date to do it.
No.
You just gotta do it and bite the bullet. So.
Has the Pines been well represented?
Glenn, the management company was at the last data meeting, and he was more focused on, oh, that's Halifax, and they'll use it to have a skating party. That's what the mayor said. I've had a conversation with him. I have another one on the 15th of June, or is it this week? I gotta check. He's not well informed as to what the bylaw is. So, the last conversation I had with him is, it is what it is, Mr. Mayor. So, you know, so the communications wasn't very good amongst the fixed roofs combinations.
That was my next question.
Yeah,
there's four with us. What's it amongst their own?
Well, like I said, I went through a year's worth of newsletters and there was nothing in the newsletters. I would have thought this, like I said earlier, this has been headlines all the time. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm gonna have I'm taking the bylaw to the Pines when it might be this Wednesday night. Anyway.
But we had two public meetings, and.
Well, that's the other thing.
And almost every
Yeah.
group was in attendance. Yeah. The first one, some of them were in favor of it, but the second one seemed to have changed. That was from the Pines. I know the Pines had changed ownership and everything.
Yeah.
But
at that meeting, the last meeting that we had, the person representing the Pines was representing the new owners.
Yeah.
They weren't, she was not the old owners at that time. And the answer that I got from then general manager that came in has since left.
Yeah.
Was, well, she didn't represent us. Well, I said she certainly did represent the Pines and the new, they sent her there. I think Glenn Squires sent her there.
Yeah. And the biggest issue, we had them all in here. We had the vast majority of fixed room accommodations, and a couple were fixated on Airbnbs, which until the province, and they're working on that, gets their act together and get those Airbnb registers, there's nothing we can do about it, because we don't know who Airbnb, you can go online and see that they're advertising, but they're not registered, and we don't have the authority to go out.
Sounds like a lot easier to have a bylaw ready to
work as I
enforce.
used them.
Yeah, exactly, they were at the meeting, so the fact that we just gotta work cooperatively with the municipality and say, do we want this January 1 or December the 1st or next year?
So when's from the county that they have preference?
With Tom said,
Yeah, they're not, I don't know whether they met yet.
yeah.
Right, because we meet before they do.
Yeah.
But he may bring it up at one of their other, they have policy and bylaw meetings and stuff like that, so they may bring it up there. Probably that's where they'll bring it up on the policy bylaw committee meeting, which is all council. And so, but the discussion that Jeff and I have had, we are sort of on the same page in agreement that it'd be September, October, right? To get the bylaws passed. And then we worked, and we weren't firm on any starting date. And we're sort of looking to see what council's thought. And if the council can come to a consensus, I mean, you know.
I don't have an issue with January 1, although they mentioned there, between that first and second reading, they may come with some changes. And if they come with some changes in the bylaw, either we accept those changes or we don't accept those changes, and if changes that need to be made, well, they might be extensive enough that they might throw them off again,
So would it make sense to form the committee or whoever's supposed to be on that and have some meetings and go over it?
Well,
Would
the
that be a
committee
lot
doesn't,
easier, or?
the committee doesn't discuss the bylaw, the councils, that's
Yeah,
the council.
Yeah, but I mean, when are they gonna put the committee together?
Well, we have to start working on that.
Cause I mean, my understanding is that they're the only group that gets the money. No one else can, so.
Who, Data?
Yeah.
No, and I've said to them,
That's
that's why we've been leaning towards that, because they are the group. But I did say to the chair, you still have to come with a strong marketing plan.
Yeah.
You just can't come with a piece of paper saying, where's the funds?
I can understand your frustration.
Yeah.
I mean, we, as a government body, understand there has to be a tool and a mechanism. We're trying to accommodate that. We're trying to help them.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're a little upset that we're trying to help them.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Yeah, I've been upset since they sent the letter saying, we heard you and the bylaw's been stopped. That letter with the bylaw had nothing to do with hearing from, we heard from one in town, and I spoke to her and explained to her what was going on. She listened and growled, and then I called her back an hour later because Leslie called me and said the bylaws stopped. So I called her back and said, oh, Ben, I just changed all my rates. Now I gotta go back and change them again. But it took her an hour to change in her computer system and put in the room levy. Like, it wasn't a big deal.
So do we advertise for that committee though, for people
There is
to
a
apply
process
for
in
it?
there, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, wouldn't it make sense to get that committee together ASAP to go over those
That committee
general?
isn't legal until we pass the bylaw.
Oh, well, what are they waiting for now, Steve?
Yeah, that committee doesn't exist until the
But you say
bylaw.
it wasn't a big deal. I mean, I can see the Pines not being a big deal because they're probably a software provider and they pick up the phone and say, make this change in the system. If you're a mom and pop shop, you might have to figure out something in your Excel spreadsheet or something.
Exactly, yeah, it's work. I understand that, it's work. And I just, and they have to get a hold of Booking.com and Expedia and all those and make those adjustments. So it's a bit of work. But they need to realize, the fixed room accommodations, this is to market this region, and it done properly is going to help us.
Yeah.
Everybody, yeah.
But
So,
I still think that-
what's the kind of the consensus here around, because Tom needs to talk to Jeff about, what start date we're looking at.
Well, I'm not an innkeeper, but isn't there mostly their year end January 1st? Because a lot of them close.
A lot of them are,
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why I thought the April made sense, because if you start up those that are seasonal, that basically all that we're gonna get April 1st is any of the one or two or three that are open year round.
Yeah.
Is that a moot point now, Tom, if they're talking about they want to open the whole deal again anyway, so the date is irrelevant until we know what they want to.
Well, the thing with the bylaw is, right, that it's the same bylaw for both units, but each unit has to pass the bylaw, right?
Right.
Each council, and the thing is, so if they make a presentation here, right, when we're doing our first reading, or do before the second reading, and they say we want this, this, and this.
Resets the process.
They gotta go
Well,
back.
they gotta go to the municipal and the municipality's gotta agree, and the town has to agree, because it's a mirrored bylaw,
Yeah.
right?
Now, just to get back to being closed, the Pines is open. So that's our biggest in town, and they're open. Right now, they're planning on being open till late January, unless it's good, and they're open all year. They're saying all year, but, which will be going there for, but. To some ground, because October the 1st, they already booked, we heard that at the public meetings, we already booked rooms the following year. Well, January 1, you booked rooms, April the 1st, you booked rooms for the year. There's no good date to do it.
No,
Unless you close completely for a year.
Well, yeah, we could say, okay, a year from now, the room levy's going in place. But that's 3.5 years from when we started this.
Get it going.
Yeah, we gotta get it going.
I mean, you heard Bob tonight, yeah, he's full for Wharf Rat, and you know what? He's gonna be full again next year for Wharf Rat, and the next year and next year, so.
Yeah.
People are booking this September for next September.
A lot of them do.
Yeah.
They book a year in advance if they're coming back for the rally.
Most places I see, it's, taxes and fees, so when we were in Newfoundland, it was like $5.47 a night, but they didn't tell us that till we got there. That was their levy, is $5.47 a night.
Is it a percentage or is it a flat rate?
Percentage over there.
It's a percentage, yeah.
But
Yeah.
you don't even think about it, right? It's just-
No, you don't. And we chose to go with a flat fee, so you're not monkeying with nickels and dimes and pennies and things like that.
Yeah.
That's why I might not be what Tom wants, but I'm thinking January 1, if the process goes through.
Yeah.
If there's any hiccup, then we are looking at April 1st.
I work on directly with council, so.
Yeah, well,
I made the suggestion of April 1st because
Yeah.
it's the start of our fiscal year, and then we wouldn't have any hangovers, so. Well, that's
Yeah.
good. And, but, you know,
Well,
I just threw that out, but I mean, like you said, that's sort of,
yeah, the only thing I have is they won't have anybody probably if we don't find some money for them, so. And that, if they have to lay off their chap there, they have doing the work, and he's probably not coming back, and then they gotta find somebody for another year, really.
But they wouldn't have any money anyway.
Well, they were, see, part of the hiring this guy was anticipating that this was all gonna go through.
Yeah.
They jumped the gun a little, yeah,
Yeah.
but they did get some grant with somebody, so. Yeah, so what's your thoughts? Tom needs to know, we're looking at start the process September, October, but, yeah.
Well, I agree with
We're the
you.
ones that have to administrate it. January 1st works for us.
Yep.
We're not benefiting from it. We're not even getting a service fee for administration,
No, we're not
right?
administrating,
So,
and that was something I cleared up with one of them. What do you guys charge? I said, nothing. We're the ones that, and I said at this meeting, Tom, I said, the staff has spent 2.5 years working on this and spent a lot of money and time, and we don't get anything out of this.
And we've been
We get the
paying-
frustration.
We've been paying
Yeah, we get the
$80,000
grief,
for
yeah.
source bureau.
Well, I suggested they look at getting that, but no.
Yeah.
Then I suggest, anyway.
Anyway, well, I,
So, Tom, I guess you're here in January, one kind of aim for, but I gotta suspect that if there's any hiccups.
I'll let Jeff know what.
Yeah.
Like, town council is proposed, and that, and then you'll know, and then we can compare notes, and,
Yeah. and then
I would say the timelines are probably for passing the bylaws are gonna be okay with, I don't know what, all right, so do that, that's for them. The thing, and then we just, but it is it's the municipal units that are in the driver's seat of this.
Yeah.
To be truthful.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
They can not collect it by themselves, right?
I don't mind the fiscal thing either, if that's easier.
Well, I just, like I said, I just sort of threw that out because that's what we were gonna do before. The bombshell where, your act didn't get proclaimed, and,
I guess I would question if I try to turn it around and be in their shoes. Is there fear they would be made redundant to this new committee? Because really that's the spending authority of the new committees where the money's gonna come and go from, right? So couldn't
Yeah.
they just become their own body and administrate funds and whatever project or they still have to have data to come forward to have?
We have
data. The thing is, the committee I think the intent of the committee is to look at marketing proposals from groups, right? Down in Yarmouth, most of their money goes to YASTA, right? Because that's the group that does all the marketing and stuff for them. And we were hopeful that data was gonna be our YASTA, right?
Right.
And that's why it was started, they're gonna get most to the money, but basically, they put a proposal in, Data puts a proposal to the committee, and if the committee is satisfied that that's where they think that money should go and support, then, you know, the check is written to them for what the proposal is. But if there's another group, maybe, you know, the campground association, for instance, you know, I don't think we have one, but if there was one, you know, they may say, well, we like to market our campgrounds, right, and have a proposal. And if the committee is good with that, right, restaurants are the whole thing, anything to do with marketing the area.
So what's the Airbnb got together and put a proposal in that said, we'd like to use your money to promote ourselves?
Well, they're not restaurants. That's our excuse, but.
There's nothing to prevent.
No, you're right. They can put a proposal in, but the thing is, that'll be the committee that will have to make that decision. And if those other four people are licensed accommodation owners, will say they're not gonna vote for an Airbnb unless it's something that they can see they're gonna benefit from as well, right?
Is it also an effort to keep a little bit of arm's length so that the Pines doesn't control it or doesn't?
Yeah, I was just gonna refer to that. Early on, when we had Jeff Gushu here, I think, was it here or something?
Yeah.
He said early on with Fiesta, a couple of the larger hotel operators in Yarmouth were kind of bucking the whole process. You know, these projects should be funded, not that. But I guess they kind of smoothed the waters out. They realized the benefit of having Yasta do a lot of marketing. They're doing a lot of marketing. You see a lot of, you turn on ATV News, you see all that kind of stuff, and they travel and shows. You see a lot of that now. So they did say, yeah, there was, and that court kind of what you just referred to, the big hotel. I said, no, we don't like that. But that's why you have 6 people in the committee.
And one vote.
One vote, yeah. Anyway, okay, we talked to Jeff. Yeah. It's been frustrating, but Brown didn't help at all. Yeah. Okay, moving on. I just closed a piece of paper here. Yeah. Budget. Town Digby General Operating Budget 2020. That came out of the special council meeting that I left. I'm sure when I left, I heard the tax rate's going to cut 10 cents, but that didn't happen.
Yep.
So, we're all satisfied with that, and we need some motions made.
I'll make a motion that council accept the following estimate for the required by the town of Digby for the fiscal period ending March 31, 2023, prepared in accordance with section 72 of the Municipal Government Act.
Someone bear to second that? And everybody's gone through it, reviewed, and is happy with it? If you are, then all those in favor of that budget, say aye. Aye. Any nays? None. So now we need a motion to set the general tax rates.
Whereas total estimates expenditures for the fiscal period of $4,572,988, and whereas total estimated revenues other than taxes to be levied are $1,045,485, and whereas the balance of revenues required is $3,527,503 must be rated. Therefore, be resolved that the town of Digby for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023, the general tax rates are as follows: commercial res source $1.86 per $100 of assessment. Commercial is $4.15 per $100 of assessment, and that these tax rates are due and payable on taxes to be billed by way of interim tax bill issued.
Excuse me.
Due May 31st, 2022, final tax bill issued in September due October 31st, 2022, with interest to be charged on all final tax amounts outstanding on interest on overdue accounts to be charged at a rate of 15% per annum.
Tom, is that 15%, is that down 1 point? Or is that?
No,
That's fixed now.
We're down to where council had,
Yeah.
thing, we done that back in 2020. We dropped 2 steps, so now we're at where council wanted to drop it from 20% it used to be down to 15, going down 1% per year for 5 years, so we,
With the way the rates are headed, we might be going the other way. Yeah. Okay, can I have a seconder to that motion?
Second.
Any discussion on that? If none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Now I know why you left.
None. Huh?
Now I know why you left.
Yeah. Don't read through this whole thing. Just the last line, second rate, fire protection rate,
Therefore, be it resolved that the total estimated fire protection, water, and hydrant expenditures for the 2022-23 fiscal year, $197,765 be covered by a fire protection rate applied to all accessible property assessment serviced by the Digby Water Commission, and that the fire protection rate for the 22-23 fiscal year be set at 0.13 cents per hundred of assessment, and be applied on the final tax bill in September and due and payable by October 31st, 2022, with interest on overdue amounts to be charged at the rate of 15% annually.
Second.
Any discussion? If none, all those in favor of that motion, say aye. Any nays? None. Motion carried. Sanitary sewer rates, what kind of
Solid waste.
Oh, man.
Oh, did I skip solid waste?
Yeah.
Oh, right there, yeah, sorry.
Solid waste management, whereas council has included in estimates for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023, the amount of $331,341 to be expended for the purpose of solid waste management, a purpose for which the town may expend funds. Therefore, be it resolved that a uniform charge of $283 be levied for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023 on each dwelling unit within the boundaries of the town of Digby, and that these uniform charges are applied on the final tax bill in September and are due and payable by October 31st, 2022, with interest on overdue amounts to be charged at the interest rate at 15% per annum.
Second. I had one question one time, Jake asked me, one time, why we don't split that up too.
Split it up.
Well, you put 283 on the final tax bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Because there's a rate that we don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh. Because there's a special rate that council sets. Until the budget is set, we don't know what that rate is.
Yeah.
Yes, theoretically, we could probably add half of last year's rate, and then, but we're talking $283, so, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, that's, you know, if council wants it to be that way, it certainly can be done that way in future, especially in future years, because our intern's already gone out.
Yeah.
And, but if that's what, you know.
No, it wasn't, it was just how come, because getting a tax bill for half, and then, and he just said, well, it's not half.
Yeah. Well,
You get half the tax bill, but then you get a
it
bigger
is for
bill.
your general rate, it's half of your general rate.
Yeah.
And with the new fire rate, or the 13 cents, that's on the last bill, it's not on the first bill either, right? So,
because everybody gets that and they assume it changed at the end of the year, and wow.
The taxes went up,
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, Now we're at sanitary sewer rates. God, sanitary sewer. Well, that's good.
That's an oxymoron.
Yeah, it is to me, but someone want to throw that in on the floor?
Okay, whereas council is authorized by the town of Digby sewer charges bylaw to set rates for sewer services. Therefore, be it resolved that the sewer service charge shall be $6.26 per 1 thousand gallons of water consumption, and residential and commercial users shall pay less than 1 million gallons annually, 100% of the sewer service charges, or more than 1 million gallons annually, 50% of the sewer service charges based on their annual water consumption of the previous year. And industrial premium premises users shall pay less than $1 million gallons annually, 100% of the sewer service charge, or more than $1 million gallons shall pay 10% of the service charges, or more than 1 million gallons shall pay 5% of the sewer service charges based on their annual water consumption of the previous year, and that the water or the sewer service charge shall be applied to the water utility bi-monthly bill. All bills are due and payable under the same regulations as a water utility bill.
Yes. Second. Discussion, sanitary sewer. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? Anyone want to grant this last one? Two lines, anybody want this one?
Whereas council is authorized to set a fee for a tax certificate pursuant to section 132-2 of the Municipal Government Act, therefore be resolved that the tax certificate rate shall be $40 per certificate. Second.
There you go. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. Building and fire inspection services.
Okay, so I sort of explained that a little earlier, but question about building inspection. So basically, we are required, municipal units are required to appoint a building inspector and to appoint a fire inspector. And whether we appoint that and actually employ that person ourselves, or whether we do it under contract or agreements is what we're doing, we still have to name them so that they have the authority to work in our jurisdiction. So that's what this is about. Yeah.
Are we paying the same rate as we paid previously?
As far as I know, there hasn't been any discussion on whether it was costing more or less. Right? Basically, the discussion that I had with Jeff Sunderland was that they basically they had to cut services to other things they were doing. I think Middleton and maybe Annapolis Royal, and they had to cut services to them. That was about a few months ago that they had to do that because Alfred was in his wind down, trying to. Well, his health wasn't great, and he was winding down towards retirement. But then, basically when he did pass, and it forced them to. They don't have a class 2. I guess it's a class 2, level 2 building inspector or a fire inspector. So they entered into the agreement with Claire to be there for them. They had to do the same thing at their last meeting.
Would it be unusual, this is a question I brought up earlier about building inspector, they have the fire inspector come, if we ask the municipality if they can send their fire inspector, who we're cost sharing, to come and just meet us, and we can express our concerns, and we really hope, he works with us. Because, well, any of us have been in the fire hall, we've walked into some properties. Like I walked into one, this was years ago, with a building inspector, and the second floor exit was 2 boards nailed with a hammer and a ladder. And I had the insurance, and that's not allowed. Well, it would work. wouldn't work. In the middle of a panic mode, hallway full of smoke, and you're gonna find a handle lying on the floor, pull those two boards open up the door, and put the ladder down to the next roof. Now that building is gone, thank goodness. But I just wondered if that's unusual, like normally we don't go down to that staff level, but.
Well,
we all
I mean, it's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. I mean, back in the days when we had fire chiefs and licensing committees and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
the building inspector did come to the,
Yeah.
and give the report, right? And, things like that. So occasionally, it's not without reason that they would come, we'd make a request to Jeff. And
Yeah, see if he come to a
say,
committee hall.
can you come to
Well, would it be advantageous at a committee of the whole to have Bruce and our fire chief and the buildings at least have that discussion to say, well, this person's having that problem, and this, how they might work together a little bit better.
Yeah, the fire chief always defers to the fire inspector or the fire marshal's office. Yeah, Bruce will be here anyway. Yeah, but I think we should just reach out. It's not to beat him up, just avoid him.
No. Actually see who this guy is.
Yeah, if it's the fire chief down in West, then I know who he is, yeah. But yeah, for everybody to know who he is, yeah, so if you put a request in, Tom, you just say we'd like to meet you.
So I guess I would like to move that we, the council appoint Daniel Godet as level 2 building inspector and fire inspector, and Ryan Dugal as fire inspector for the town of Digby.
Seconder.
Second.
Any further discussion on that? We always tend to do a lot of discussion before the motion, but that's okay. If it works for us, it works for us. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any needs? That's the last thing on the regular agenda. We need to move in. Well,
just before we go into in camera, I don't know if council got the email from NSFM concerning the membership survey to support the service exchange renegotiation.
I saw it, yeah.
So basically, they sent a reminder today, and what they're looking for is a survey to be filled out by one person representing, getting feedback from the council. They want the council's position, not individual councilors' opinions. Okay. Right? So the deadline is coming up pretty soon for that. So I don't know how the council wants to approach that.
I was just gonna suggest that maybe everybody read through it and send your comments and remarks to Tom. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Cause I was looking at it today, and I've been kind of following the whole process a little bit of the whole remake of the NSFM. I got it.
You did.
See, yeah, if everybody could read through it and send any remarks you have to Tom, and then we could put them together.
Deadline's coming up really quick though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's in a matter of days, yeah. Yeah. So if you get nothing,
June 13th, so.
yeah.
So
Yes.
what email was it? Just looking here now.
It's called the SERNGAR Member Survey, which stands for Service Exchange Renegotiation and Municipal Government Act Review Committee. So that's what the survey is called. SERNGAR Member Survey. And it was an email from NSFM.
Here, I'll forward it back to you again, Mike.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, 'cause I think there was, that you ought to get that reminder today too. So it should come today.
Yep, okay, go through that and then send them off to us. So it's next Monday it's due.
Thanks, Bob.
Yep. Okay, can we have a motion to camera? Yep. Second?
Second.
Are we being filmed?
Yes.
I wasn't sure. Yeah. All those in favor of going in camera?
Aye.
Aye. Brian, Phil Barrett, and a bunch of us met. Says Brian, you need.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, yeah.
Mike seconded.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep.
But anyway, I just said, you get a hold of, but he ended up in the hospital.